I think it's been a little bit more of an eye-opener to the Dallas and the Stars fandom than it has been to the team itself. This is exactly, I kind of think, what the Stars expected.
Where are we going? I think, would it be Dallas? Let's talk to Sean Shapiro of DLLS and Elite Prospects. Where are you, my friend?
I am actually in Detroit. That's where I live, but I have a flight to Dallas for Game 5, so thankfully both teams split for Game 1 and 2, so that we made sure that happened. And so I am in Detroit right now, but I am flying to Dallas Wednesday, and hopefully have better travel experiences than some others traveling around the world right now.
Amazing. Our read on this series is that the Stars aren't dead and that they should be thrilled that they're down 2-1 in this series, because it could very easily be 3-0. They've got a lot of guys who need to get going. And quite frankly, when you can only get better, 2-1 ain't a bad place to be. Do you think that they are in as big a trouble as everyone else seems to think?
I think there's trouble. I also agree with you. They should be down 3-0, right? Like that third period from Game 1, they should be. They scored 5 goals in the third period. They've been outplayed throughout this series. Even today, I know they get all the numbers and everything, and they go through and they outchance Edmonton and everything like that. But this was a game where Edmonton took advantage of the adversity, the missed penalty, and credit to Edmonton. And I actually blame Dallas for not limiting the damage there. And it's all of a sudden Edmonton is able to basically just go bunker down a little bit and then go sting them on the rush. So Stars could be down 3-0. They could be facing elimination. And I also think this Stars team is one that we have learned is such a coin flip of a team, where there's this, it's like this team lost 4-0 to Edmonton twice. There was multiple games against Colorado where you're like, this is the worst team. This is the worst playoff team in the history of hockey. This team lost 7 games to end the regular season before going into Game 1 of the playoffs. It's a team that under multiple coaches lost Game 1 of series 8 games in a row and somehow won 5 of those series. So it's basically, if the Stars want to show up, they'll show up and play the game. And then there's sometimes they don't, like tonight. And so I don't think they're out of it. It's just which side of the coin shows up for Game 4, and are they down 3-1, or is all of a sudden Game 5 a big twist game? It's Dallas Stars. They are completely random, and it's beautiful and wonderful and terrible all at the same time.
I didn't feel like they no-showed tonight. I feel like they had a really good second period that they immediately lost the game at the end of the second period when they surrendered a goal in the final minute. Like, I was like, this game is over. It just negated an unbelievable period that may have got them back in the game. But from your perspective, like, how do you power rank the list of most disappointing Dallas Stars in this series?
It's ironic that Jason Robertson scored tonight and got the goal tonight, but it's you can't be. And I know we give him a little pass, right, for kind of the start of the Winnipeg series. He's coming off the injury, misses all of the Colorado series, but you can't be getting your first goal of the playoffs 10 games into your playoff season or whatever it is for him, and it's because you happened to be there when Leon Bichel shot the puck. Like you can't be a 35 goal scorer in the regular season and not do that. So for me, it's the Jason Robertson playoff issue and I think it's not nearly as bad. Like past years, it's always been will Jason Robertson deliver in the playoffs? And I don't think he's been as bad as some people have talked about, but this year he's basically kind of given proof to the pudding that he hasn't gotten it done. So it's Robertson there. I mean, if you want to go through and you basically talk about any forward that isn't from Finland has basically struggled to do anything. I mean, Matt Duchene finally has done a little bit more, but Mason Marchment and Jamie Benn have, I know they kind of internally have moved this thought where like Jamie Benn is saying and telling Wayne Gretzky he's a checker now and everything like that. But that doesn't mean he has to stop trying offensively. And that just seems to be kind of a theme. Basically, this entire all season we heard about the forward depth for the Stars, and it's going to be great, and they're going to keep rolling and everything. And just no one is showing up. And it's funny because like the guy, you feel bad ripping on him because he's at -16 now, but like Wyatt Johnston is when you are potentially 1- away from setting an all-time record for the lowest plus-minus of a player in a single playoff year, there's something wrong going on there. So unless the player was born in Finland or plays defense, you have a hard time finding a lot of success individual stories on this team, other than Colin Blackwell, who was good tonight.
Colin Blackwell, Tyler Seguin. I think the list ends there.
Yeah, Seguin. Yeah, Seguin. Yes, I'll give pass to Seguin. Seguin's been better than he doesn't get looped in as much as some of the other guys. But yeah, I'll give that to Seguin.
The Johnson thing is crazy to me because that's a guy who is profiled as big playoff performer. He's going to pop at some point. Like the Robertson, he's kind of living up to a narrative that already existed, which is kind of can disappear when games get tough. The Johnson thing is crazy to me.
He's still a child, though. That's like the one thing
he was fucking popping off at 19 in the playoffs.
I know. It's weird that he has this backlog of proof that he's a great playoff player. That when he's doing nothing this postseason, I'm like, he's just a kid. I kind of let it go. Like, what is he, 21, 22?
Yeah, he's 22 now. He just turned 22 like a week and a half ago or something like that. So
okay, he sucks. He should know better.
Yes, he should know better. It's the you get the what is that? What's the saying, right? Like we always joke about once the playoffs, there's no rookies or whatever hockey cliche. Like that's the one we want to use. But no, the Johnson thing.
Welcome back, Joe Pavelski.
Exactly.
Oh, no. He stayed in Joe Pavelski's house a little too long.
Yes. The Johnson thing is wild because it's part where like he hasn't been nearly as bad to be minus 16, right? Like so there's been some of that that unluckiness to it too, and there's been parts of his game where you're like he made a play against the Colorado series late that led to a goal the other way, and so there's still those moments, but then you're like, I don't understand how he can have this body of evidence from those past couple years. And when a guy does it at 21, 20 years old, you're like, oh my God, the sky's the limit. This guy's just going to keep skyrocketing. You don't expect kind of a plateau or normal or whatever we want to call this. And it doesn't make sense. And it's kind of, it's hard to figure out for me at least. So
you talked about Jamie Benn saying that he's maybe like more of a checker now, which is tough when Zach Hyman is doing what he's doing this postseason, where he registers. I'm not a hits guy. I think it's an anti-possession stat, but it's not an anti-possession stat when you have 2 goals and an assist and 10 hits. You probably had a really good game. So like it's tough when somebody else is doing that and then some. I caught a little bit of your post-game show and I saw some super chats mentioning a lack of toughness on the Stars. And I was surprised that could be the topic. But then again, maybe I'm not, because a team has to win, a team has to lose, and usually when a team loses, it's because the goalie's bad and the team is a bunch of cowards. But I have not read there being a massive lack of toughness on the Stars, unless Rope Hintz is faking. And also, like, it's not like the Oilers are the toughest team on the planet.
Well, I think a lot of the toughness, the lack of quote unquote response conversation is people were hoping for the Stars to just come out and 5 guys with pitchforks and stab 5 Oilers in the foot to start the game after. Like I think that's kind of what a lot of people were kind of looking for when they were talking about response and toughness and everything like that. So the Stars are a team though where it's been to Jamie Benn's detriment through a little bit of the prime of his career when he was still the number 1 scoring threat and all of that, and it's now where he is that guy. A lot of that like team toughness, who's going to stand up for a guy, it falls on Jamie, right or wrong. And it's also a team where if you go through, and as I said, hits aren't a huge stat for me because I think, as you said, anti-possession stat, but you go and you look at the Stars teams this year, like Liam Bichel led the team in hits by like 75 in the regular season. And he played like 35 games, regular season games. So it is a team, and it's a possession-based team. When they're good, they don't typically not have the puck, so they shouldn't have a lot of hits. So it's one of those kind of people looking for a solution. I think a lot of the super chat conversation becomes, well, good Lord, they've lost a game. In the last game, Rope Hintz got completely slashed. We didn't come out with our pitchforks. So it must be the fact that we're not running around hitting people, because that's how this team won a Stanley Cup 27 years ago, or however long 99 was. Like, so I think that's kind of where it all comes from, because for me, the bigger thing is like, if you're going to respond to the Darnell Nurse slash on Rope Hintz, and that, like, I know you didn't get the 5-minute major, boohoo, whatever, score on the power play. right? Just go score on the power play, and all of a sudden it becomes a non-factor. So I get the people need something to be angry about, and that's something I always remind myself. Like when Owen and I are sometimes text before the show to prep, we're like, you got to remember they lost, so people are going to find something's going to become a mountain to tackle, and toughness is the mountain that they need to tackle right now.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're a goaltending guy. Yep. This is 2 years in a row that the biggest perceived advantage that Dallas had over Edmonton was in net, and now it's looking like 2 years in a row that maybe not. So, like, where do you stand on goaltending at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's kind of almost sad to me that Dallas did score a goal because I loved the Skinner scoreline of that's either 100 or 830, whatever. Like I shed a tear when that happened because
Same.
I really hoped that we would get a little bit of that. That was great. I think it's kind of the interesting Jake Ottinger storyline, and it happened last year. And I don't think Ottinger has been like, there's no way anyone could watch the game tonight and think it's Jake Ottinger's fault they lost, right? There's no way anyone who thinks about it could look at it that way. But one thing the Stars have done over the past couple of years is Jake Ottinger typically has been the most worked goalie, one of the most worked goalies throughout the season. It happened 2 years ago. He ran into a wall usage-wise, and again, that Vegas series in the Western Conference Final didn't play well. Last year, he got outplayed by Stuart Skinner when he's playing a game around game 70, 71, 72, whatever it was between the regular season and the playoffs, and he's starting to get close to that number right now. And Jake Ottinger has been the Stars MVP. Between him and Mikko Rantanen getting there, it's close 1 and 2. And for Jake Ottinger, we talk about narratives that have to be gotten through and everything like that. So he wins his battle against Connor Hellebuck last round. Great. Puts him in a nice spot to talk about Olympic hockey and everything like that. But he's a guy who, when he starts getting to that 70, 73 game workload, he starts to hit that usage wall. And you can't help but wonder, can he be that guy? And that's something that I think Jake Ottinger can be that guy. Like, I think I've seen it, but the past couple of years have shown me, once we get to this and once we get to this point of the year and the workload has been loaded up to 73, 74 total games between the regular season and the playoffs, he starts to break down a little bit. And it's now on Jake to effectively prove me wrong on that. But the past 2 playoffs have shown that. And Stuart Skinner is a little bit fresh, lost his net to Calvin Pickard for a bit, isn't playing. And you've got teams where, like Florida wins the Cup last year. I know Bobrovsky plays the entire postseason, but Stolar's played 25, 26 games or whatever it was, right? 2 years ago, Adin Hill wins the Cup, and he comes in and he doesn't even come into the playoffs as a starter, and played, I think it was something like 45 games. I think Jake Ottinger is a little bit of that proof to the pudding that maybe this 75, 76 goalie limit really isn't feasible. Like, because everyone thinks, Andrei Vasilevsky won 2 cups as a workhorse. Well, I take nothing away from them winning in the circumstance they did, but they won in a 56-game regular season, and they won in a COVID bubble where there was a long break in between. We haven't had a goalie go and win and play a workman's like load of games. Even the year Bob took Florida to the Cup final against Vegas, Alex Lyon comes in and plays and takes the net from him for a bit. So, like, Jake Ottinger has been a bit of that proof right now, is like, well, can a goalie play in today's NHL? Can he do 75, 76 games and still be that guy in round 3? And so it's not just a Jake question, it's an entire position question, because teams who have won have done the opposite. Like Carolina, I know Carolina is going to be done in a game, but Carolina has been willing to switch goalies. Like, it's Dallas does not. There's no way in hell Casey DeSmith is ever starting the game. So it's all up on Jake to prove this. So
watch it. But I was just Googling during that. I was like, was Casey DeSmith hurt this year? So, like, why don't you just play him more in the regular season?
That's a wonderful question for Pete DeBoer that I'm sure him and Jim Nill will have I think Jim Nill had that same question about why didn't you play Scott Wedgwood more last year? And then they brought in Casey DeSmith and he didn't play more. It's a tremendous question, and it's one where I think it has to almost come from, I think it's Pete DeBoer gets a lot of autonomy from his GM and how to run things. It's one of those where I almost think from Jim Nill being such a I'm going to let people do their job type thing, it almost you need someone else to be a little bit more of the adult in the room from the Stars' perspective to say, you know what, we should probably play if we are a team that should be a cup contender. We don't need to do what Utah did, where we're trying to run a guy into the ground just to make the playoffs. We should be a playoff team, if the backup is also playing 35 games. And that's going to be a really interesting and internal conversation for the Stars this summer, I think, between Jim Nill and Pete DeBoer as they go forward, because it's like, look, we can't have Jake play this many games. We want him to be hitting 65 games if it's game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. It can't be game 72, 73 for game 3 of the Western Conference final.
I mean, we had the discussion about, like, does bad goaltending put you in a better position to win a Stanley Cup?
Oh yeah, that's the trick. Yeah. You got to have bad goaltending.
But we didn't even like consider the idea that, like, having bad goaltending, forcing a guy out and another guy in makes that guy fresh.
Oh, yeah. And when you were talking about Stu and you were like, Stu's fresh now, I'm like, he does kind of always make sure that he's fresh by the time the conference finals roll around.
He takes matters into his own hands. Jay Rodger needs to consider that.
He's fresh and playing well by the time the conference finals roll around. But and I know I snapped on Casey DeSmith. I know he's not Patrick Waugh, but like Casey DeSmith is a very playable backup goaltender. So I'm confused as to why they wouldn't play him a lot more. It's not like they were at risk of falling into a wild card spot. They were going to get Colorado anyway. So last thing I want to ask is, do you think, because we all think that Dallas isn't out of this, but I'm going to play a weird version of devil's advocate where I esteem the Oilers and say, what does it look like, though, if the Oilers power play shows up, which hasn't happened? That's like a big what if that is still looming. And then, of course, another is Ekholm's coming back at some point. And I know they keep saying like, mid to late series. The more they win, the less they need to put him in. But after today, after that second period, if I'm the Oilers, I'm like, if Ekholm's ready, get him back. Get him back. Yeah. So what, like, I guess, how do you weigh the possibilities of Dallas improving and Edmonton actually still having some improvements that are tangible?
Yeah, it's tough. And I picked Edmonton to win this series. So for me, it doesn't, like, this series is kind of going a little bit how I expected. I expected to go 6 or 7 games, but it's the what if that was answered tonight was like, at some point, Connor McDavid's not going to have just 3 goals through 18 games, right? Like, it's the whole, like, that was one of the shoes that was going to drop at some point. So he scores twice tonight, and so he'll probably score 2 on. We can probably assume he'll score 1 or 2 in game 4. And if you're Dallas, you got to think about that as well. So there is, from an Edmonton escalator situation, there's definitely a lot of scary things for the Stars' perspective. Now, I will say, and now obviously Ekholm is not coming back from nearly as long of a return from Landeskog, but if you're Dallas, you went through this a little bit in round 1 where you were dealing with Colorado and knowing that they're going to get their captain back, they're going to get a leader back, they're going to get this emotional piece back, and you're going to have to deal with it. So Dallas is, I guess, prepped a little bit to deal with that, very little bit. But yeah, the Oilers are, I said this on the DLS postgame show, like, the Oilers are a damn good team. And so for everyone who's going through and thinking that this is from a Dallas perspective, that was thinking they were just going to walk through after they beat Winnipeg and everything like that, I think it's been a little bit more of an eye-opener to the Dallas and the Stars fandom than it has been to the team itself. This is exactly, I kind of think, what the Stars expected. And it's also why I think things can kind of, I mentioned the Stars being that team that can kind of flip at times, and there's times that can change. And I think it's one of those where, from a Dallas perspective, we've seen how Jake does bounce back. And now we talked about the usage before, and so I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but maybe this is where there's Dallas needs somebody in that group for that dig deep, follow me moment, which they haven't had, which they haven't had yet this series. The power play basically gifted them a win in this series. So they really haven't gone out and won a game themselves yet. So whether it's the Sagan line, whether it's Duchesne doing something, whether maybe it's a Miro Heiskanen signature moment, like, the Stars are a team that needs something to build off of. And a lot of times that can be Jake Ottinger. There's times it'll be Mikko Rantanen. From a Stars perspective, I think there's always that potential spark there. And so that's why it makes Dallas better. But, of course, the Oilers thing is way more tangible. It's why I picked Edmonton to win this series. But I'm not ruling Dallas out. I still think this series goes 6 or 7 games. I still think Edmonton wins, but I still think it's a 6 or 7 game series.
We all silly like the mayor.
I gotta ask, seen some people say it. You think the cannon looks like a penis?
No.
If it does, who cares?
Get your head out of the gutter.
Even
I've
better.
seen every cock on the
That
planet.
genuinely
Hockey is for everyone.
did not cross my mind at any point.
Stadium Series jerseys out, and we've been hyping this for a while. We've been hoping that it would be certain things, and they are here. Sean, just throw anything on the screen that you would like to throw on the screen. We can get into the breakdown later, but if you want to just give us a glimpse of either the Red Wings or the Blue Jackets.
No preference on where we start?
Start with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah. So I was very, very nervous about this jersey reveal, and I didn't want to be like super upfront about it because I love both teams, but I've been open about I don't love the Blue Jackets branding. I've never really truly loved a Blue Jackets jersey, and when the Red Wings do specialty jerseys, they don't fucking try. They don't try because they hate messing with their jerseys, and I don't blame them. Why mess with perfection? But goddamn, if I don't love both of these jerseys for their own separate reasons. Let's start with the Blue Jackets one. The cannon being massive. Obviously, you guys have to love that.
Cannon
I love it.
boys mount up. This is
Happy birthday, Sean, indeed.
I have been
It's like they listened and they took they were like, okay, one of these guys wants the cannon and the other one wants it huge cannon, and they delivered.
Yeah, this is everything. I mean, I'll just get like the solitary complaint out of the way. I was desperate for some electric green, for some stinger green in there. So that's the one thing that I think they missed out on. Not the jersey still rocks though, and my biggest thing is that I love there's a good chance that outside of the Sabres, the jersey that I'm wearing right now, the actual Blue Jackets cannon jersey, is my favorite hockey jersey of all time. So them leading into the cannon is.
I could not be more on board, but with the take that like a little electric green trim on this would make it kind of elevate a little bit more.
Dude.
Like right under that red stripe, that electric green accent would be amazing. My theory on why the electric green was not included is maybe that it would make it look too much like a University of Michigan jersey when you're doing the navy
I said that the other day. Yeah.
Really?
I wanted it to just be like blue and green. If you're at Ohio Stadium and you're just doing blue and a yellowy color.
Yeah, for sure. I think the
especially
presence
when
of
you're playing the Red Wings, who are going red and white, which is close to Ohio State.
Yes,
it would look like kind of a jersey swap of the two teams.
I think the presence of the red on these jerseys allows them to incorporate some electric green and still get away with it. Again, not that mad about it.
My main fear, and this popped up in the last few days because none of us had really thought about it. We were like, what if they lean into Ohio State? Do not want that. You're playing the Red Wings. Let them do red. And I didn't need it to be super cannon based. Obviously, Sean drove the bus on that drove the cannon based and did a great job. I wanted it to be more stinger based, but I wanted it to be big stuff. I wanted it to be blue as heck, blue and white with a little electric green accent. This checks a lot of those boxes, even though that electric green isn't there. This is mainly blue and silver. That shit shimmer.
The silver rocks.
Silver rocks. Oh my gosh.
I gotta ask, seen some people say it. You think the cannon looks like a penis?
No.
If it does, who cares?
Get your head out of the gutter.
Even
I've
better.
seen every cock on the planet.
That genuinely
Hockey is for everyone.
did not cross my mind at any point. If trying to decide how tactful I want to be about how I say it. If yours looks like that, you need to see a doctor. All I'll say is the hole at the end is far too big for that to.
It's not supposed to look like that.
You're not supposed to shove stuff in there. Stop doing that.
That looks. I'd never seen that like overhead kind of shot of it. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Oh, brother, these under the stadium lights are gonna. Oh,
so we're gonna get to after we go through both of these teams. Which jersey and which player jersey is the most desirable, but that thing is going to work so well at the game. That's going to work year round. That's gonna be a great jersey to rock every winter. It's a little holiday-y. It's got a little bit of the shimmer. It's got a little bit of the lights. You got the blue for the Hanukkah. You got the red for Christmas. This thing's got utility, baby.
I feel like this has a really weird but palatable mix between looking sort of like a throwback, but also being very modern and like kind of cutting edge. And I don't know if it's like the modern element is the design and the silver, and like the logo reminds me of like a retro logo. But I love it all. I do. I think they did an awesome job with
think that regardless of what team you are, if you're making a jersey for an event like this where people are going to be watching it from far away and watching it on TV, you want to be true to your colors. You want to do things big, and you want to have a little flair. This hits all of those. Amazing. And I initially really thought I would have a hard time getting over no stinger incorporation. But now you got a lot of people saying like, hey, it's not very stingery. It is boomery, which is their other mascot, who isn't as cool as Stinger, but still, I love it. Sean, do we want to throw up we have these explainer, the breakdowns and everything? I've got one that I want to walk through some of the finer points.
Do you want
of this?
Yours?
The real one, please.
Okay, well, now
the real one is mine. Okay. So huge numbers, always great. The shimmer on the sleeve, I love. It's very new LA Kings jersey. It's obviously very Vegas Golden Knights. The letters on the jersey, the A or the C, you see Zach Werenski up there, has the outline of Ohio. I did not know what the outline of Ohio is. That's helpful. Makes you smarter.
I thought you meant that the A in the letters were helpful to identify which players are important. But I think both could work. And I do love a custom captain's patch. Like when the Wild did it for their outdoor game with the outline of Minnesota, I thought it was the best part of that jersey. I thought they were unbelievable. They did a really good job here. I only wish that maybe it wasn't just the outline of Ohio. I think that maybe I would have liked it more with a full red patch.
That would be very Minnesota Wild coded, though, wouldn't it?
It would. I think they'd face accusations.
Okay, and there's no accusations here. Again, like I said, like they're just doing their thing the best they can do it.
The sad thing is that we're not going to get a C in. We're not like the C jersey's not going to exist.
Because Boone Jenner?
Yeah. And that'd be so perfect for Columbus, the C in Ohio, and I'm not going to get it.
I'm sure Boone Jenner will get a jersey.
That's true.
The massive cannon, amazing. Doesn't have a crest. I'll say, when you're doing it that big, I don't want a crest. I would not want that to have a circle behind it or an outline of something behind it, just because that would take away from how big you can actually make the cannon. They made this cannon take over the jersey in the best way possible.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about the outdoor jerseys is that by virtue of it being in a football/baseball stadium, they have to make things big so you can see them. And a lot of times that can be a little weird, but I think it works very well here.
And then the last thing I want to note, Sean, if you could move us out of the way. I guess it still, what I sent somehow got cropped. Anyway, they're not doing the red pants like they usually do. With their white jerseys, they have red pants. With their blue jerseys, they have red pants. Here, they're doing a black color rush type of thing, but they do have the star in there to keep with what you normally have on their jerseys. This is very, very thoughtful. They have kind of thought of everything for this. I think it's such a win.
Yep. I mean, I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. I think it is better than I expected. I'm very impressed, and I'm very excited to have my hands on one of them.
I love them wholeheartedly. I think they're like a 9.5 out of 10.
Do you like them more than the current Cannon jersey that you're wearing, the faux back?
No, I don't think so. I just love the cream on these jerseys. That one's tough. As I mentioned, though, like on these jerseys, if the gray on these jerseys with the silver that they had on the Stadium Series jerseys, I think that's like the one change I would make. This all did make me think, though. We are hopefully going to get the Cannon outside in a place that it's supposed to be.
Very Raymond James coded.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I think you got to make the actual cannon bigger. I think if you have a cannon inside a small arena and you're moving the game to a bigger stadium, a much bigger stadium, I think you got to keep the proportions the same. You got to have a giant cannon.
I mean, that cannon would literally be like a full-blown, like, I don't know if they could legally have that. It's like only the U.S. military has weapons that size.
You got to contract one.
It would be like a legitimate, like, anti-aircraft missile.
Got to do it. Don't care.
Make it happen. We got to solve crime.
No fly zone over Columbus.
If you have a big ass cannon out there, there's no crime happening at this NHL event. If you could throw that back up, Sean, for one last thing. We have to note that Kirill Marchenko is just the most wonderful man in the world. So he's handsome. And that's the last little detail on that. There isn't one thing on this. Like my preference obviously was to do a Stinger jersey. But there isn't a detail of this jersey that I look at and say, I wish that there could be less of that or take that away. So while I don't ultimately give this, I said 10 out of 10 earlier as an expression, while I probably give it like a flat 9.0, that's well earned.
I do love that CBJ shoulder patch. That looks great.
That is a very good shoulder patch. I wish they did something a little more interesting with their helmets. You can't really see it all that well here, but they just put a number on the side, which when we talk about the Detroit one, Detroit got a little crazy with their helmet.
Okay, let's get to Detroit. Yeah. Detroit's jersey is a lot simpler, so they needed something to really spice it up. I don't think that doing a helmet for Columbus would have served them well because the attention should be on the jersey. And for Detroit, they went super simple, which you knew that they probably were going to. I got to say, for the Red Wings, I think this is the most that I could like a Red Wings jersey or uniform as a whole without the logo being prominently displayed, because we all know they have the best logo in all of hockey. If you're not slapping that on there front and center, you got to really do something and basically everything well to make up for it. I love this look top to bottom.
So do you like this better than the throwback to the Detroit Cougars where Absolutely. It was just a D?
Yeah.
I think that this is so much better than that.
So much better.
I think so too.
Yeah, I agree with Pete. This is for sure the best non-Red Wings logo Red Wings jersey we've seen.
My only complaint is not really Detroit specific. I just hate when alternate jerseys have the main normal logo as a shoulder patch because it makes it look incredibly AHL to me.
Let's get back. Okay, let's stick with that and go to my breakdown of these Red Wings jerseys because I think, that's the fake breakdown. That's
I can't see it anyways.
That's okay. There we go. All right. I think that it's the greatest shoulder patch ever. To be able to put the Red Wings logo on your shoulder is such an unbelievable flex. Most notably here, they did the Michigan.
Yeah, it's a flex if you play in the American Hockey League because that's a great accomplishment.
I would flex if I played in the American Hockey League. Biggest thing is they did the Michigan with the helmet where they did the stripes and shit. It's obviously not it's not a Michigan helmet, but this is clearly inspired by a Michigan helmet.
Yeah, and I was worried that their helmets would basically just be the Michigan football helmet with the Wolverine type design. I'm glad they didn't do that. I saw a lot of people saying they didn't like the massive wings on the side of the helmet. Shut the fuck up.
Love it.
My only complaint is that the wing it just stops very suddenly here. I want the rest of the wing to wrap.
Oh no, but it means that their the eye of the wing is their actual eye.
But then why do they have more than just the wing? It clearly starts the wheel, but they just chop it off right here above the eyebrow. It should the rest of the wheel here should continue.
No, I think
or you move it down a little bit so the wing it should just be the wing. It shouldn't be showing any part of this wheel.
I love this helmet. I'm very
generally
love it, and I can be a little bit of a helmet policeman with when teams mix up their helmets. Really, I just don't like the all shiny. I like when they do matte stuff, but I think that some of the creativity with helmets can lead teams down a bad road. I think that the Red Wings did a great job here. An interesting thing for me is the nameplate, because this jersey and uniform to me ultimately feels like a bit of a collage in which it has things that are kind of inconsistent with one another, and it somehow looks good to me. That's a good shot, Sean, thank you, of Lucas Raymond, where they do the Flyers two-toned jersey nameplate. I feel like that is not what the front of this jersey would call for.
Yeah.
But it looks like they just kind of threw together a bunch of different parts and they just look cool as hell. Almost like the Red Wings font.
Yeah, that is true. Where the Red Wings font uses like 3 typefaces. I would agree with that assessment where it kind of looks like a serial killer note where they cut out the magazine letters.
Right.
But somehow it works. And I've seen people say that they don't like the stripe down the middle of the helmet. They like the wings, not the stripe. I like the stripe. Like it's a like a racing stripe. It kind of reminds me of like a nod to the Motor City. It also reminds me a little bit more of like a college football helmet, which I like, and I do like the contrasting nameplate. I sort of get what Sean's saying though with the shoulder patch. It does remind me of like either an AHL
It's a very
jersey where like they slap the logo on for the affiliate, or like an all-star jersey where it's just noting what team a player is representing. I think I'd like it more if they either didn't do the Red Wings logo or if they did it on both shoulders and not the Stadium Series patch.
Or on the pants or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably
I do
go
like
with it on the
Hockeytown
pants.
being on the pants.
That's my favorite detail of the whole thing.
Hockeytown on the pants is great. And it feeds to the collage thing, because does that look like it goes with the scripture of Detroit there?
Yeah, I think it does.
Oh, no way.
That's like textbook design. Is you get like a fancy font and then you have a very simple sans serif font that goes with it. Like those fonts definitely go together, I think.
Okay, so I was more thinking, and that's a good point. I was more thinking that I could see that on something in the 60s or like the 50s, the script.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And I don't think it would be accompanied by, or I don't think it would be paired with the more sans serif thing. But again, these are all things, even if it strikes me as like more collage-y, it's a collage that looks good.
Yeah.
And the last note, car shit, it says there. Hopefully people can see and zoom or whatever.
I sent you a photo that has it more clearly outlined, I believe.
But on the lettering of the numbers, really just the numbers, I suppose, it is, and actually on the Detroit, it's got like the kind of car upholstery thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that the stitching, it looks like Braille, quite frankly. And it is such a nice touch. It's basically their version of how the Chicago Blackhawks did the like pinstripes on their numbers.
That's like the jersey nerd stuff where when you see it up close, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the pinstripe numbers on the Winter Classic jerseys were incredible. And these, I love what they did with the upholstery thing. Sean, I'm going to send you a picture just so you can throw it up, because it is a very fantastic detail. And I know that we are overly critical of when teams have these like explainers that really don't make sense and they're reaching. It doesn't feel like they're reaching on any of these sort of jersey explainers.
No. I think that both of these jerseys rate really highly. And when these teams meet and play in these jerseys, oh boy, it's not going to be like the Winter Classic where it's good team with bad jersey versus terrible team with great jersey. This is going to be interesting team with awesome jersey versus interesting team with awesome jersey. Oh my gosh, Sean.
Oh, brother, that looks great.
Isn't that, like, seriously, that Braille, though, it looks so good. And you even see
technically speaking, not Braille because it's embossed, or I don't know. I don't know how to use those.
Would Braille be
Braille
embossed?
is raised.
Yeah, so that's raised.
These are indents. These are holes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And chat raises a good point, too, about the nameplate thing on the back. The Red Wings don't use actual nameplates.
Yeah.
Which maybe, I don't know, like here's the theory. Maybe it's a nod to like, oh, we're taking the nameplate from the actual jersey that you've earned and we're going to stitch it onto the back. Like maybe that's the reason behind it. I am not really sure.
The interesting thing about it is I think it confines the nameplate a lot, and it's going to make it a lot harder to read.
Yes, that was
from
a
a
concern
distance
for me. Yeah, Sean, if you could come to me. Yeah, this goes just right on here. I didn't even notice that, but it makes all the sense in the world because they're so solid about all their stuff.
Well, did you know like during preseason, the Red Wings players do not get like the real font that goes on the jerseys? Like they don't get the stitched names. They get basically a fake nameplate, and you have to earn your regular season jersey.
That is so forced. I like when you have an actual thing to like when there's certain teams that have like pinstripes or like they don't put the logo on the helmet or whatever, but like going out of your way to make a fake nameplate so somebody can't have, like, just don't put the name on it at all and then make them earn the nameplate.
Let's get to the best detail either of these jerseys had. Sean, if you would do me the honor, please. That octopus, though. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean,
yes.
This is my first reaction to this was fuck yeah. My second reaction to this is why don't Columbus have a stinger version of this?
Yeah, 100%.
But this is like one of the best little Easter eggs on a jersey I've ever seen.
My third reaction to it was, why don't they make the whole thing the octopus?
You're alone in that one, brother.
No, an octopus jersey would go. It would be ridiculous. I think that
it'd be ridiculous because it'd be purple.
I do like that the Red Wings are kind of like, listen, we've heard your feedback. We're gonna lean into the octopus a little bit,
maybe a little
but
bit.
in a little tasteful
yes,
way.
we're gonna give you crumbs.
Yeah, we're gonna be tasteful about it, but we hear you. We know you want octopus. Here you go.
They just need to put that motherfucker back up in the rafters.
Pass that puss, baby.
We all silly like the mayor.
If you're stranded in a desert with someone with only a bottle of water and a baseball bat, and you can't share the water, and the other person takes the water first, what do you do with the bat?
Let's go around the NHL and do some combine stuff before we get to Katie Nolan. So the combine happening in Buffalo over the weekend. And Pete, why don't you give us the question that the player was asked?
Yeah, okay. So Taylor Hassey of DK Pittsburgh Sports reported that the Montreal Canadiens, who are known for giving some pretty weird questions or prompts at the combine, had another weird one this year. Said, here's the question. If you're stranded in a desert with someone with only a bottle of water and a baseball bat, and you can't share the water, and the other person takes the water first, what do you do with the bat? And this was reported because Caleb Denoyer said he'd hit a home run. He would take the bat and hit a home run. That is an unbelievably good and nonsensical answer to a nonsensical question.
I mean, that's throw it back at them, confuse them. They're trying to throw you off your game, throw them off their game.
100%.
What would you guys do in that situation?
I would have so many follow-up questions. Who is the person? If it's my sister, she can have the water. Like I'll die, whatever. If it's a random person, should have taken the bat because now I have a weapon and you don't, and it's every man for themselves. But if it's someone I care about, like I'll sacrifice myself. If it's a teammate, if it's my captain, like that's my answer.
So it says you can't share the water. Fucking says like, does it mean like if you both drink the water you die or something? Because what I do is I use the bat to get the water. You can do that without hitting somebody with it.
Depends on the person.
You go out the push. They drop it.
That's why I have so many questions. I have so like it so depends on the situation. Like if I can. Yeah, I mean, obviously the implication there is like, will you beat the fuck out of this person for the water? Like, will you do anything to survive? Probably.
I will intimidate them with the bat.
It's fucking Lord of the Flies. Like it becomes every man for themselves.
I'll be honest. I'd drop the bat. I get them to give me the water. Or just talk to them, charm them.
The desert's tough because if it's an island, then I will work to try and find my own water. A desert, that's not really an option.
If it was an island, I would use the bat to crack open some coconuts.
Exactly.
And I would drink the water out of the coconuts.
So that was my thought when the home run question, where the home run response was given, was like, you bash some coconuts, but then it's like, it's a desert. There's not really anything around. So
really, the right answer is you plant the water in the sand, and then it grows a water tree, and then you all have water.
Yes.
Exactly.
I mean, the other thing is like, just because you have the water, like the water's going to run out eventually. It's a bottle of water. You're still going to die.
You know what I would do?
Rescue is an option. That's what I'm working towards.
So everyone, they need some sort of liquid. I would piss on my hands. Better grip on the bat.
Seems like
Jorge Posada.
Nice.
Slug them. Get the water. They would think that when I began to piss, they'd think, oh, they're doing some sort of thing so they can drink. No. I'm taking this at bat as seriously as a heart attack.
That's a good plan. You take some practice swings with the bat and you say, my hands don't have as good a grip. Can I borrow that water? I need the hydration so that my urine flows and then I can pee on my hands.
Right.
And then you really put them in a box.
Because ultimately the biggest problem for each of you is how are you going to do something cool with the bat, not how are you going to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Pete and I would both go undrafted.
I just don't have enough information in the situation. I would like to think that management would be impressed by the extent to which I thought about it.
I'm more concerned. What do they hope to learn by asking this question?
Just how you respond under pressure, I guess.
I guess.
I think it's more of like
are they going to take people off their draft board if they're like, I'm killing the other person?
I think it is. I don't know exactly what they're looking for, but I feel like these questions tend to be a little bit of like a fishing attempt. Like you're trying to see if you'll get a particular thing that will either raise some kind of alarm bell or a green flag one way or the other.
You know what the funny thing is, though? If you ask Connor McDavid that question, his answer is, I don't know. I just want to play hockey, man.
Yeah.
And then like when you hear Connor McDavid say that, you're like, that guy doesn't care about none of the bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, you have Sebastian Aho on this podcast and you ask him dumb questions and he's like, I don't know.
Did you hear what
locked in?
Did you hear what Leon said when someone asked McDavid, like to young players who watch your pass on the power play where you absolutely killed Barkov and was it Barkov and Forsling? Yeah. I think it was Barkov. No, Barkov and Ekblad, which it's a little
makes a lot more sense
than Forsling. But like where you walk Barkov and Ekblad, what would you tell a kid who wanted to understand how to do that? And McDavid was trying to answer the question, and Draisaitl was like, "You just tell them that they can't do that.
Well,
that you can't learn that."
I mean, it's good to know your limitations.
Exactly. A big thing from the Combine is the rise of a young man called Brady Martin. And I was seeing videos about this kid. I was seeing chatter about this kid. And I believe our dear friend Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects said that he would not be surprised if he went as high as number 4 overall to who? The Utah Mammoth. And Utah's a very interesting team in this draft because famously they jumped way up by winning the second lottery drawing. So they're picking higher than their team needs, and they're willing to trade the pick for a young star player, or maybe they get a little creative. And Brady Martin, a kid who is a physical center and has something to do with farms, is now the talk of the NHL. We asked, who is Brady Martin? Sean, could you answer that at all for us?
A little, I get kind of maybe. First off, the thing I found the most interesting was that Cam said that either he or someone asked Brady Martin who he looks up to, and he said Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson, and Matthew Nye. So I think we have maybe a Rat Prince.
We have a real shithead on our
hands.
hands.
If Brad Marchand is the Rat King, maybe we have a Rat Prince here. And shout out Josh Allen. He's a farm boy. First off, he's the middle child of, well, he's got 3 siblings, 2 brothers, 1 older, 1 younger, and a younger sister.
So he's not the middle child.
No, but he's a middle child.
You can have 2. I feel like that's really fudging the numbers.
Yeah, I'm a middle child. I'm the
double stuff warrior. Just because there's extra stuffing doesn't mean it's not in the middle.
All right.
And he's the middle of 2 boys, which I think is the most important part.
Okay.
But he also has the element of having a younger sister that, you raise, protect, stuff like that. But apparently, during COVID, they were all living on a farm working, and the boys, because they had a bunch of time, just bought cows. And they raised cows and started their own line of beef that they sold. So these
he's
boys,
at risk for gout.
No, but he's a go-getter. He had time, he had an opportunity, and he went and he did it.
He's at risk
I like
for gout.
Pete's thing on the gout.
Yeah.
Is he the next Paul Bissonnette, or
maybe
is he the next Sam Bennett?
The reason Biz has gout. He's selling the beef.
He's giving his opponents gout.
He's like, hey, I'm a good guy. I'm just trying to make friends across the league. Here's a bunch of steaks. They expire in 3 days. Eat them all now.
An important part of the thing that we never brought up with Biz. How did Biz get gout before Jacob Chikrin?
Because Jacob Chikrin doesn't overeat.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing.
It's precisely calculated how much raw liver he should eat.
Okay.
And
fair.
Biz is eating at least 20 ounces of steak every night.
He's a gout getter.
Go getter. Okay, so this is the number 1 riser in the draft, we think. But he's a physical center. He's got some nasty to him.
And I mean, if that's not the GMBA MO. I don't know what is.
I mean, if he was American, I would say that the Bruins are going to trade David Pastrnak to get this guy.
Yes, I agree. This rules because this guy can't go higher than 4, right? This isn't like a Beckett Seneca situation. Although maybe it is because this is a 2-player draft.
Yeah,
they say it's Schaefer and it's Misa.
Saw some stuff about Higgins maybe sliding.
Oh, Higgins is sliding.
He performed very well at the combine.
But
to what extent you take that?
Okay, so this will bring me to another thing from the combine I want to discuss. Higgins sliding. We think Buffalo Sabres per everybody very active, telling teams they're willing to do stuff. They want to make moves. Elliot Friedman says that they are willing to move their prospect in exchange for more immediate NHL help. I think of the Ryan McLeod trade last year. Mm-hmm. They need to make more of those trades. Yes,
for better players.
Yeah, they need to address their top 6, and they need a top pair right shot D man.
Okay, so they need a top pair. A top pair right D man. I say Noah Dobson. You have the 9th overall pick, and the New York Islanders have to want James Higgins. I don't think that James Higgins is falling to 9, but say the Islanders take Schaefer or Misa number 1. I think people expect it's going to be Schaefer. Mm-hmm. They still will want James Higgins. If there's a possibility, a team that didn't think it was going to be within range because they had like the 13th or 14th or whatever pick it was going to be, they move all the way up to number 1, or I think it was going to be like the 11th or something like that. But they move all the way up to number 1, and they end up being able to come out of this thing with both James Higgins and the number 1 player in the draft, Matthew Schaefer. Ooh, could be very fun. Yeah, so Buffalo Sabres, I am trying to trade that pick to the Islanders, and I'm trying to get my right shot defenseman because, God, they need that.
Yeah. I mean, if they really want Higgins and they're worried about him not sliding to 9, they trade Matt Barzal to the Boston Bruins. It would be very funny if the Bruins ended up with Barzal.
I mean, I think if you were trying to move up to get Higgins, you need to be attacking the Utah pick. Like that's the one that there's been a clear indication that they're willing to trade. Because otherwise, it's not like it's super common to fucking move around lottery picks.
I would not be surprised if lottery picks moved this year.
I do think this year there seems like to be a lot of reason to think that it might, but I'm just saying, like generally speaking, it doesn't seem like it happens all that much. But again, there's no way. I mean, you never know. Like Shane Wright was the first overall draft pick until he wasn't, and then he was 4. Mm-hmm. But like, I would be shocked if Higgins fell. Like it seems like the Utah pick is the only avenue for someone to move up and get Higgins if they're not currently holding that pick.
I don't think that Higgins gets to 7. I will say that.
I mean, even Shane Wright, like he fell, but he fell to 4. Like Higgins, I don't think Higgins has fallen past like. I mean, fuck if I know honestly, but like I would be surprised if Higgins fell past 5, 6.
But we're talking about 9.
Because 9 gets you within striking distance. Otherwise, where do the Islanders pick next?
But like, I don't think striking distance is good enough. Like, if you're the Islanders and you're making that move, I think you need to be confident that you're like. I don't think it happens before draft day. I think it happens on draft day when you know you're going to be able to get the player that you want.
Yeah, I think it would have to be like in place for the draft to see as things are happening. And then if he's there at 7 or 9, then maybe you strike a deal. But you don't strike a deal hoping that he falls to that if that's who you have in mind.
Especially with like if Utah is big on Brady Martin, like I think there's probably a chance you get him after 4. So if you can trade out of 4 and then trade back into the top 10 or something like that.
I actually don't know about that. I think that if Utah likes Brady Martin at 4, they're like, we'll take him at 4.
Well, yeah, but if you don't have to, like if they're more into Brady Martin, then like it's a Beckett Seneca situation. Like we don't know, right? But like say that the Ducks were the only team really interested in there, like you can risk moving back and then moving back into the top 10 or whatever and get him. If you're moving into like 7 or 8 or 9, like the Sabres, for example, don't need that draft pick in theory. If you could trade with Utah and get them back in the top 9 so they can get their guy, like I think there's a lot of ways it can go.
We all silly like the mayor.
Pete, I'm old school. Okay, like when the Oilers, I grew up watching the greatest offensive dynasty in the history of the National Hockey League, the most electrifying, exciting team that's ever lived. But they also had toughness.
Bob Stauffer, first Bob episode of the regular season. Oilers Radio, Oilers Now, the best. What's up, Bob?
Oh, just, sometimes you got to play a little hurt. I have to get a little dental work done on Friday, but the swelling hasn't gone down. And I'm at the stage now where I'm so ugly, it doesn't matter how I appear anymore. So I just go with it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there he goes. Right off the only thing we don't like about Bob is he comes in and he's like, we're like, we've got the GOAT. And he's like, well, yeah, who could love me? We're like, you're fucking Bob Stauffer.
Also, I mean, it probably helps make you feel better to look at Zach Hyman's face this morning.
Oh, man. Well, that's going to happen when you're the net front, right? You get, pucks deflecting and ricochet. Those are always scary. That was, you always worry about that. I worry the most when I see a player kick their feet on the ice. That's when I have the greatest amount of concern, because usually that's a sign they get it in the eye or something. When a guy can skate himself off the ice, which is also part of what Zach Hyman is. It shows you, the toughness that he has. I mean, he's a classic overachiever, and he's tough as nails. And he, along with Matthias Ekholm, have been two of the players that, in fairness, Ken Holland brought in that really kind of added some support to the Oilers' leadership core of McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Darnell Nurse, that really helped transform Edmonton from a good team to a pretty good team. And a pretty good team wins, around 50 games a year, and that's what Edmonton's done each of the last 3 seasons.
Well, had you told me to guess 30 minutes into the game last night, what is Evan Bouchard going to do next, I probably would have guessed almost kill one of his teammates, because things had gone so poorly for him. But you bring up Zach Hyman and you bring up Matthias Ekholm and the type of players that they are. This kind of feeds into the main thing we want to talk about. We've watched the Oilers now play 2 teams, Vegas and Florida, and I guess to a degree Minnesota, who figure to be standing between them and the Stanley Cup. Do you think this team, with what they've got, is positioned to beat those teams in a series?
I don't know. Like, Minnesota's been a bad matchup for Edmonton for the last couple of years. But saying that, I think if you looked at the analytics in Minnesota, I think Minnesota is really well managed, first of all, with Bill Guerin. In fact, all 3 of the teams that Edmonton's just played on this run are really well managed organizations. But I thought Minnesota's record was a little bit deceiving. I didn't think they were that good. And then they had some injuries, and they didn't have Eric Sinek and they didn't have Jonas Brodin, and they layer up against Connor McDavid and make him go, through first Eric Sinek, then Brodin, and then they got, Connor's got to beat the goalies. So that was, Middleton got hurt first shift of the game, and it completely changed the complexion of that game. So Minnesota has been a tough out. I just don't know how good they are. Vegas is legitimately good. Like, Vegas was one of the first times the Oilers have played Vegas in the last couple seasons where the Golden Knights have been completely healthy and they have strength down the spine. So they have 4 great centers. They have a big defense. You guys know Cassidy pretty well. He plays zone defense as well as anybody in this league. And they have the type of D that can play it. They confront pucks. It's difficult to penetrate the box on those guys and get inside into the high rent district. Edmonton went into Vegas probably about 2 weeks ago, played one of their best games of the year, outshot the Golden Knights 16-2. That game, the Oilers deserved to win. The game Saturday afternoon at Rogers Place, I thought the Oilers, frankly, were a little bit lucky. Vegas was coming at Edmonton in waves, and the Oilers were able to, kind of fend it off. And Stuart Skinner had, at that point, his 6th consecutive start where, he gave the goals saved above expectation were on the positive side of the ledger. Gave the Oilers, he was the better of the 2 goaltenders between him and Aiden Hill. Last night against Florida, that was an ugly game. Both teams, if I was, Maurice or Chris Knobloch, I wouldn't have been happy with how my team played. It was a beautiful game to watch because there was lots of goals and a little bit of scrappiness in the game as well. Florida didn't have Barkov. I think Edmonton squandered an opportunity against a pretty good team, and Stewart had a tough game. And then on the back end, Evan Bouchard had maybe his most challenging night. He did get tweaked with a hit against Minnesota, and I don't think he's at 100%. I don't think he's completely comfortable right now. But those are 3 good teams. I frankly see Vegas and Florida at a little bit different level than Minnesota. I mean, you're talking about the last 2 Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we've kind of put Minnesota in that lower category as well. You mentioned Saturday and last night, like the Oilers kind of got leaned on a little bit, and things can come apart for Edmonton. They got a little lucky on Saturday with Jeff Skinner bouncing back and getting back that goal that Stu gave away. Like, do you see that becoming a problem for that team down the road, and how would they fix it, or how would you try to fix it?
Pete, I'm old school, okay? Like, when the Oilers, I grew up watching the greatest offensive dynasty in the history of the National Hockey League, the most electrifying, exciting team that's ever lived. But they also had toughness. Like, they had tough teams. They were a top 3 tough team in the NHL as well. Like, in the first couple Stanley Cup, Dave Semenko in the early 1980s was a top 3 fighter in the league and maybe the best enforcer, because he would tune the rats once in a while too. Like, there's some fighters that wouldn't necessarily go after sort of the smaller agitators, and if Semenko had to, he'd send a message. And then, the sort of the 86, 87, 88. I mean, they picked up McClelland for the first cup. He scored arguably the biggest goal in team history, and pound for pound, he might have been the toughest guy on the team. And then by 80, the second of the back-to-backs, Marty McSorley was there, and Marty was a very effective, player along McClellan. So I've always felt you needed that, and you do it differently today. You do it with a little bit of firmness and competitiveness. I think you raise a very valid point, Pete, and it's one that's got me like. I think they've got to add. They got to find a way to add a bigger right shot center. They have a guy on the farm, Noah Philp. He's not a super aggressive player. He took a year away from hockey. He's got to play some games. But if I was the Oilers, I'd find a way to test drive him, possibly in February, just to see if he can handle it. Otherwise, I think they're going to have to make a trade. Now, Colson's given them a little bit of physicality. But
punched a hole in a guy's head.
Pardon me?
He punched a hole in a guy's head. Straight through Jeremy Lauzon's forehead.
Well, think of what happened last night. Like, AJ Greer did a number on Colson in Colson's first ever NHL fight. And last night, AJ Greer hits Colson straight in the back from behind in Labort's. That could have been I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to. It's a loser's lament to whine about officiating. So some guys would have stayed down on the ice and tried to milk that. And he got up and went right back at a guy who'd previously won, one of the few fights he's had in the NHL career against him. So I'm liking what Colson brings, but Pete, I tend to agree with you. I think they could use a little bit more size up front. I think the dynamic will change a little bit with their forward groups. And then on defense, they're adding something at some point. I don't know if it's going to be a right shot. It could be a left shot that plays the right side. It doesn't have to be a shutdown guy or a cycle stopper. It could be a guy that can move the puck, and maybe that's how you play, is you just have another transition guy that can get the puck up the ice. But they will be adding a defenseman. And then they have a wild card, and the wild card is Evander Kane. I had him on my show on Friday. He's not he has yet to start skating. If they get the Evander Kane from the 2022 playoffs, where he was a menace out there and, was engaging in psychological warfare on the ice, that's a really good player. And the reality is, by the Stanley Cup final last year against Florida, he just was not right and could not help Edmonton. He couldn't get there. But Evander Kane can be a force, and Evander Kane is prepared to do things that fewer and fewer players are willing to do these days. So he is a total wild card for me for Edmonton.
And the defense was terrible last night, but a thing that we've been talking about more and more recently is Darnell Nurse. And yeah, he got the basically teed up yesterday and didn't have his finest night, but he's been awesome of late and really most of the season. Is it just that he's healthy, and how much does his season change what type of defenseman they need to get now?
Well, that's a good point. I think Brett Kulak's played a factor in maybe what type of defenseman they need as well. It's funny with Darnell. He's plus 17 in the last 18 games. Some people think that's too base level of a stat. I do tend to agree with you, DJ. Like, he battled. Like, I know he was hurt during the playoffs last year. He was not running. Lots of guys get hurt. There's lots of players that play through things. He's obviously playing a little bit better. To me, he's figured out a little bit that less is more. Like we watched Chris Pronger in his prime year. That guy could play the game in a rocking chair. It was only 1 year, but man, oh man, he could play half the game and still provide an intimidating presence occasionally with when he decided to assert himself in the game. But Darnell, this is about as best that we've seen Darnell play in the last 2 or 3 years.
How many guys would you put above Leon Draisaitl in the Hart race at this point in time?
I think Kaprizov is there for sure. Like he has to be. Minnesota's had a good year. I'm going to what do you guys think?
We were I think and I'm biased, I have Kaprizov ahead of Leon. Yeah. But if somebody were to say, oh, I go Draisaitl, I go the center over the winger, and I go the center over who earmuffs Pete is playing with Vasily Podkolzin on the second line.
I mean, Kasperi Kapanen, like waiver wire pickup. That's the guy you should be targeting there.
Like, Pete's always been big on the people complain that, hey, you don't give Draisaitl line mates, but he's just this never-ending proof that do you really need to? So I am endlessly impressed with Draisaitl's season thus far. But I would still have Kaprizov ahead of him, but he is right there. And last night on that first time in goal, looking a little bit Selke-ish as well.
Yeah, it's funny. They loaded up McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman, in the third. Of course, Hyman was coming off the blocked slap shot off his face and had the bubble on it. And I think for some players, it's an adjustment. I wonder whether or not if Hyman didn't have that bubble on, if he finishes one of the attempts that he had in the third period. It's a little bit of an adjustment for some guys. It's funny with Leon. He likes playing with Podkolzin because Podkolzin's good on puck retrievals and supports the play defensively. He and then Kapanen's got a little. Kapanen can skate. He's got some skill. But you raise a very valid point. He is not playing with the Oilers' best offensive players, 5-5. And then they loaded up McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Those guys got dashed for -3 in the third period. And here's where I say to you, 2 of 3 goals. Okay. You know what I mean? I hate being the guy looking back to the goals saved above expectation. 6 straight games, Stuart Skinner was above it. And then last night, I think, depending upon which model you use, it's at minimum -3 in the game. So there is, especially the goal that Reinhart scored on the 1-on-4. Now, it's a great shot, and part of that happens because of the way goalies play today. But the bottom line is I can't go in. And it does occasionally go in, and when your guy puts it in, like a McDavid or Leon, which they've done before, where they drill it in off the goalie's ear, it's a great play, but it's frustrating when it happens against you. I'll give you another stat on Leon. Connor missed 3 games due to a lower body injury, the ankle injury against Columbus. The Oilers went 2-1 in those 3 games. The one game they lost was New Jersey on the second of a back-to-back, and they outshot New Jersey 31-16. So Draisaitl had 3 goals and 6 points, went +5 in those 3 games without Connor. So he raised. I don't think I need to sell, especially you guys who, of anybody outside the market of Edmonton that seem to have a fundamental understanding of all things Edmonton Oilers. It's the What Chaos podcast, but those guys are, Leon's a pretty special player. I think everybody in the league knows that.
And we're allowed to say that. I every time, because it's now twice that Stu has given up a devastating goal to Sam Reinhart. You see the Stu Skinner jersey behind me. I paid full retail. I love that man. But the goaltending last night, we're allowed to say, was terrible on both sides. Stu was good for 30 minutes, I would say. And then just when it rains, it pours. But I didn't get him ready for the show, but I wanted to show the stills of Reinhardt's angle, of Leon's angle, and of Connor Brown's angle. Both of those goalies were absolute assholes last night. I love them. Respect to those men, but they were assholes last night, and we're allowed to say it. I'll tell you who's not an asshole. It's you, Bob Stauffer. We're going to see you in a couple of weeks when you're in Boston.
Bring out the credit card, fellas, because I'm one cheap guy.
Oh,
let's go.
North End.
Yes.
North End, bring Jack, bring Gene, Louis, the whole gang.
So excited.
Oh,
that's real.
What's that?
We didn't even talk about the Bruins. What's going on with this team? I did some research. They were +128 a couple of years ago. minus. What are they right now? They're minus 19.
I'll tell you what
Dude.
they are right now. They're hot right now. They came off a dominating win against the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night.
I heard you on the broadcast last night saying, and they got Boston coming up, still trying to kind of figure out what Boston is. And I'm yelling at the radio. I'm saying, we were texting yesterday, Bob. I fucking told you what the Bruins are. And I told you guys are going to kill them.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad.
Well, the Oilers have been, I think, plus, what are we here? Let's see, plus 65, plus 57 the last 2 years, or plus 12 this year. They'll probably finish about plus 35 or 40 at worst, realistically. I mean, the schedule actually eases up in the final 50 games. I've watched Boston 3 or 4 times. I don't know what they are when I see them, but
Same.
they've had. Is that fair? Is that fair, you guys?
Same. I've watched every game. I don't know what they are. They're assholes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. When you were talking about, they need a right shot center with a little bit of size or whatever, I immediately Googled Charlie Coyle contract, because what if Boston ends up selling? That could be a guy that would be perfect for this team. It definitely wouldn't help the speed stuff with the Oilers, but I'm like, man, maybe you do a little scouting on, what is it, Thursday when they play? Yeah, maybe you do a little scouting.
By the way, how's Kastelik played?
Oh, he rocks. He's like one of their guys that does bring a little bit of everything. I've been pretty impressed by him. He was one of their only good forwards at the beginning of the season when everybody sucked.
Okay, figure out what I'm saying here. You asked me whether or not they need a little bit more size and bite, and I said, well, they could use a 4th line right shot center that's got a little bit of size and bite. I don't know about you, but does that Kastelik fit the bill?
I think that's Pete's second Oilers jersey. He still hasn't gotten his Jeff Skinner, but that's on the way. Bob, we appreciate you always. We can't wait to see you.
Awesome.
We all silly like the mayor.
Buddy, the Buffalo Sabres are supposed to be a playoff team. This is an important U.S. Thanksgiving, though, because much like last year, there's some when's that team going to get in? When's that team going to get out? I'm kind of bearing the lead here, but fuck it. Sean, can you give me the Eastern Conference, please? The Eastern Conference, as we are 1 week away from U.S. Thanksgiving, has the Panthers, the Maple Leafs, the Lightning coming out of the Atlantic. That all kind of makes sense. Metro, Hurricanes, of course. Capitals, of course. Rangers, of course. Let's get to the wild card, where the New Jersey Devils, with a .619 points percentage, hold the first wild card spot. And what is that? There's a couple of 500 teams, but I'm pretty sure they both played the same number of games, and one of them has more regulation and overtime wins. That would be, Sean, your Buffalo Sabres in line for a playoff spot if the season ended today.
Buddy, that's Lindy Ruff's music.
Oh!
Too bad the season doesn't end today.
I played a game of ESHL with a team called the Ruffalo Sabres last night, and I joined their team, and they were talking about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen,
who played like a Vezina candidate last night. He rocked.
I will say, you don't need to do Ruffalo Sabres EASHL games to talk about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
That's right.
These days, you just go down the street and you're like, you see the game last night? What game? Only one person was on the ice, it seemed. That guy was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Sean, come back to us if you would. Buffalo Sabres, you are supposed to make the playoffs now.
Are we adjusting the expectations for the Sabres? Well, it is. We still have 1 week.
Whose expectations, brother?
We still have 1 week. But if they are there next week by Thursday, we are officially stamping they're supposed to be a playoff team.
I love
that
Sabres
idea.
on is supposed to be a playoff
Yes.
team watch. Don't blow this, Sean.
And we will, if anybody pushes back on that after Thanksgiving, we have receipts. They were in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving.
Sean came in today. I was here all early. I was caffeinated. I was doing I wasn't, but it was, I felt like I was having a spa day. I just felt like I was floating. I was so happy. Sean came in. I'm bouncing around. I'm giving him big. I'm like, hey, buddy, the Buffalo Sabres are supposed to be a playoff team. U.S. Thanksgiving standings tell me so. Sean could not have been more lightly giggly, but generally not receptive to it.
I mean,
you're not having as much fun as Pete and I are.
That's the appropriate response if you're Sean.
Absolutely
1,000%.
I try to stay consistent, and the vibes aren't like. This has been a vibes team all year, and even if they're in a playoff spot, the vibes don't seem playoffy right now. So I'm not getting excited.
Oh, buddy, like you look at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and tell me
agree.
that any of those teams below
Throw
the
it back
Buffalo
up.
Sabres
No,
deserve to
throw up
climb above them.
who's serving Hunt right now, or who's Hunty? You got the Islanders, who no, Boston,
Respectfully.
who in the next week, but Boston's going to be, and actually I don't know if they play enough games leading up because they do have a couple of toughies. They've got the Canucks next week, but they have such an easy road ahead that they're going to be that not in playoff spot for U.S. Thanksgiving, and 2 weeks after U.S. Thanksgiving are like President's Trophy candidates because they just are playing a bunch of ass teams. If they're not beating those teams that they're playing, we outlined in the last couple of days, then they should fire Joe Sacco.
I look at the Islanders, absolute overtime point merchants. They have 5 overtime losses.
Burn.
Get a real team. Bruins, absolute mess. Could rally under Joe Sacco. I think that they're going to be better. Obviously, it's hard to be worse, even though the stand like they are not as good as what the standings say right now, and the standings say they are below 500, which is crazy. And the Ottawa Senators, I'll tell you what, I still believe in the Senators.
Spunk.
I still think the Senators could be in a playoff spot at some point towards the end of the year. Linus Ullmark's, he's my guy. He's my best friend. He's not playing well.
He's going to come around, though.
I think that he's going to come around. And what is encouraging is that the Ottawa Senators are actually like a pretty good defensive team this year.
Yeah, I think
once.
The Senators are going to stay in the mix. Boston's going to be more than in the mix. They're going to be a playoff team. Islanders, I think, will drop out, but as we were saying in our season preview, like
They're so fucking annoying that they always hang around.
Playoffy team. They're not going to totally. I'll say that the Hunty teams will remain Hunty, but Boston will find their way in, which is bad news for the Devils because the Sabres are absolutely staying in. They're supposed to make the playoffs. Sean, if you would give me the Western Conference, we have the Jets having a historic season, Wild, Stars out of the Central, Pacific, Golden Knights, Flames,
Ooh.
Canucks, loving that there. And the wild card, Kings and the Oilers. In the hunt, Hunty, what's that?
I'm laughing at what we know.
You're laughing at what we know. So the Hunty teams are the Avalanche, the Kraken, and the Ducks.
Not Hunty. I know they're 500. The Ducks are not Hunty.
The Ducks are not really Hunty, but if we're going to say that the Islanders are Hunty, then we have to say that the Ducks are Hunty. I know what your counter is going to be. You'll gladly say the Islanders aren't Hunty. You want them to not be Hunty.
And we're talking about a much worse Eastern Conference than a Western Conference. Like the Islanders could puke all over themselves and still get into the party. I don't think that the Ducks could puke all over themselves and be allowed into the party.
Okay. Sean, what do you think we do first? Do you think we say who's in and who's out from last week's check, or do we say what we know?
Say what you know. It's way more interesting. I love it.
Sean, could you give me a couple of interesting playoff matchups, if you would, if the season ended today?
I mean, I can give you one, and it's that Central 1 versus Wild Card 2, the Winnipeg Jets versus Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. Sounds like a nightmare scenario for one Connor Hellebuck.
With what happened last season, where the Jets were on fraud-ass pumpkin watch all year, they get into the playoffs and they say, we'll show you who's frauds. Oh, fuck. And they played the Avalanche and got absolutely smoked. And we were legitimately having, is Connor Hellebuck the guy conversations. If they had a historic season and broke the Bruins record, which they are on pace to do, and then played the Oilers in the first round, we were discussing this before the show. All three of us are in agreement. The Oilers would sweep. Would actually sweep. Yes. Would actually sweep the Jets. And Stu Skinner would for sure. What we know is Stu Skinner would absolutely outplay Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, that we probably do know that. And I think just from a pure comedy standpoint, no disrespect to my Winnipeg Jets friends, but I would 100% be rooting against them if they broke the Bruins record and headed into a matchup in the first round against the Oilers.
Well, that would make it 3 teams in a row that broke the record and then lost in the first round, 2 of which would be swept. Boston at least went to 7 games, built different.
You're giving them credit before something's already happened.
Yes. It's the fucking love you, Jets, mean it. But if this happens, if that matchup happens, that's absolutely going down. The other good matchup, I know that Sean's acting like there's only one fun matchup that we're talking about here. Who would the Eastern Conference leading Carolina Hurricanes play in the first round, Sean?
Oh, I honestly forgot that we talked about this. One Buffalo Sabres, which despite my lack of excitement for the Sabres potentially making the playoffs, seems again like a nightmare scenario for the higher ranked seed here because Carolina kind of seems like assholes.
If we can say it about the Bruins every year that they're like built to win the cup, if we can say, or at least I say that they're a choky ass team, Hurricanes are a choky ass team.
I don't know if they're first round choky,
in the
but
Eastern Conference Final, they win rounds.
Here's what you're not considering: this would be the Sabres Eastern Conference Final. You know when they do that, when they say that's that team's Super Bowl.
This is our Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
they can't say it's their Super Bowl, and they have because that will not end well for the Sabres either.
They have the Hurricanes do not have Stanley Cup Final experience under Rod Brindamore, so this would be uncharted territory for both teams, and I think Vegas would probably favor, the Buffalo Sabres. I think a lot of us would go into this saying, the smart money is on Buffalo.
It'd be a fascinating matchup on Twitter. I think those fan bases would make for some entertainment off the ice.
I mean, you could make the argument the Buffalo Sabres would have the goaltending advantage. UPL.
I don't think there's an argument there. I think that's objective.
I mean, it depends on who the Hurricanes acquire, maybe.
Well, fair. That's fair.
We did see that Freddie Anderson is out for 8 weeks. And he's never healthy, so.
Our chaos god baby. Piotr, give it to me. I want Hurricane season tickets. I want to watch every game that guy plays. He's so much freaking fun, as would that matchup be.
We all silly like the mayor.